I think with all the stuff that's coming out at the moment, it's always salutary to look back and see what other people in the past have said. And Mrs. Thatcher, when criticising the Thames television programme Death on the Rock, in an interview on Japanese television during her third term as Prime Minister, came out with the most extraordinary statement. And it's salutary, and it's prescient, and it's a warning, and we've fallen right into it. It says, the freedom of people depends fundamentally on the rule of law, a fair legal system. The place to have trials or accusations is a court of law, the common law that has come right up from Magna Carta, which has come right up through British courts. A court of law is the place where you deal with these matters. If you ever get trial by television or guilt by accusation, that day freedom dies, because you have not had it done with all the careful rules that have developed in a court of law. Press and television rely on freedom. Those who rely on freedom must uphold the rule of law and have a duty and a responsibility to do so, and not try to substitute their own system for it. Well, of course, the whole problem is that press and television have taken the place of a legal system which has become deeply compromised. We're thinking of NDAs, we're thinking of extraordinary pronouncements where you get an NHS employee who is told by the judge that a contract is not contractual, where you get somebody testifying which is simply not true, and you have to ask, in those situations, is the law the right way round? Surely in any legal case, if somebody cannot afford a solicitor or a barrister, one should be supplied. In this case, in the case of the contract is not contractual, I understand that the person in question had to represent himself and was frankly taken advantage of. So if the law is not working effectively, we have to look at the media taking its place. If the government is not working effectively, we have to look at the opposition. If the opposition is not working effectively, we have to look at the media. The media cannot be law and government. That's like being judge, jury, and executioner, isn't it? So suddenly we've given the media so much power, and we come back to what Thatcher says. If you ever get trial by television or guilt by accusation, that day freedom dies. And it's not the television's fault. It's not the accuser's fault. It's the fragmentation and the destruction of our systems. That's the problem, and Thatcher saw it. And Thatcher was wise enough to articulate it. It's a quotation which is often misunderstood, and which is quoted out of context. But I think it's a reasonable statement. We have Magna Carta. We have these rights, these inalienable rights, to have a trial by jury, to have representation at a trial. And when that is eaten away, and when we have a government which is testing the limits of law. How can a government test the limits of law? Surely a government is making the law. And yet we have a Home Secretary who is testing the limits of law. We've got it upside down. That day freedom dies, because you have not had it done with all the careful rules that are developed in a court of law. She's right. She's right.